You see, success doesn't visit by accident. It responds to habits. Habits are the architects of destiny. Every result you're living today is the harvest of a habit you planted yesterday. And the question you must ask yourself is this: are my habits creating the life I desire or destroying the one I've been designed for? Because, my friend, you don't decide your future. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. That's the game. That's the formula. Now, let me get your attention real quick, because some of you have been praying for success when what you need to do is prepare for it. You're waiting for a door to open, but your habits haven't even built the key. The habits that make you successful aren't complicated, they're consistent. Success is not for the smartest, the richest, or even the most connected. It's for the most consistent. You know, the difference between average and extraordinary isn't talent, it's discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that builds empires while everyone else sleeps. It's the inner commitment that whispers, "Do it anyway," when you're feeling scream, "I don't feel like it." Every person you've ever admired, every giant who ever changed the game, had one thing in common: they mastered themselves before they mastered success. And that's the real battlefield. Your own will, your own mind, your own comfort zone. Because success doesn't come to the emotional, it comes to the disciplined. Let me tell you something powerful. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is preparation. It's not about restriction, it's about construction. Every time you practice discipline, you're building a foundation strong enough to hold the weight of your destiny. You cannot pray for success and live with excuses. You can't ask for abundance and live in avoidance. You've got to train your body to obey your purpose, not your emotions. That's what separates those who win once from those who win always. See, the world is full of talented people who never made it, not because they didn't have the gift, but because they didn't have the grit. Talent can open the door, but only discipline keeps it open. You can start strong on motivation, but you finish strong on discipline. Motivation will get you started, but discipline will get you finished. Every great athlete, entrepreneur, or leader didn't reach the top because they were inspired every day. They got there because they showed up every day, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. The truth is, you'll never always be motivated, but you can always be disciplined. Discipline means doing what must be done long after the excitement has faded. It means building a routine that turns pain into progress, resistance into results, and consistency into character. You have to rewire your mind to understand that comfort is the enemy of greatness. Every time you choose comfort, you sacrifice your calling. But every time you choose discipline, you build destiny. Let me give you a hook that will stay with you. Your habits will either make you powerful or pitiful, but they will never leave you neutral. Discipline is the habit of the powerful. When you wake up early to grind, when you read instead of scroll, when you save instead of spend, when you train instead of complain. That's not just discipline. That's transformation in motion. You are literally reprogramming your future with every disciplined decision you make. You have to decide that your purpose is greater than your pleasure. The person who learns to delay gratification becomes unstoppable, because most people quit when it's uncomfortable. But the few, the disciplined few, push through the pain. And that's why they stand on stages while others stay stuck in the crowd. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. You may fall, but you rise faster. You may fail, but you refocus sharper. You don't quit, you commit. And here's another hook for you. Success doesn't respond to wishes, It responds to work. Every small act of discipline compounds into massive results over time, just like compound interest builds wealth. Compound discipline builds success. When you choose discipline daily, you're planting seeds that will bloom in the seasons of opportunity. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things consistently. There will be days when you're tired, when it feels like no one sees your effort, when progress seems invisible. But discipline teaches you to trust the process even when you can't see the promise. The grind today becomes the glory tomorrow. Every rep, every page, every late night, every early morning, it's all making you someone success can recognize. Because success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who can sustain it. Discipline is not a season. It's a lifestyle. It's what turns vision into value, potential into performance, and desire into destiny. The disciplined don't wait for inspiration. They create it. They understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity. Anybody can go hard once, but the discipline goes steady every day. And over time, their consistency becomes their crown. So, when you feel like stopping, remember why you started. When you feel like quitting, remember who you're becoming. Discipline doesn't just change your habits, it changes you. Focus is the secret ingredient that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. You can't hit what you don't see, and you can't build what you don't believe in long enough to stay focused on. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they're too distracted. They start something powerful, but the moment discomfort shows up, they look away. Success doesn't belong to the talented, it belongs to the focused. You can have all the potential in the world, but without focus, your energy scatters and your progress shatters. Focus is the art of ignoring the noise so you can hear your purpose clearly. Let me say something that might hit home. Every distraction has a cost. Every time you stop to check what others are doing, you delay what you're supposed to be becoming. The enemy of your success isn't always failure. It's fragmentation. You've got to stop multitasking your purpose. You can't build an empire while entertaining every notification. You can't elevate your life while comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. The reason many people feel tired isn't because they're doing too much work. It's because they're doing too many wrong things. Focus doesn't drain you, distractions do. The truth is, clarity creates confidence. When your focus is fixed, your faith gets stronger. When your attention is scattered, your anxiety grows louder. That's why the first step to success is not action, it's alignment. You have to know where you're going before you start moving. Don't confuse motion with progress. You can be busy and still be broke. You can move fast and still be lost. Focus gives direction to your drive. It turns movement into momentum. Without focus, your energy leaks through the cracks of confusion. Here's a hook you need to write on your heart. Where focus goes, power flows. Every great achiever, every visionary, every leader who changed the world mastered one principle: elimination. They didn't do everything, they did the right thing repeatedly. Focus is not just about what you say yes to. It's about what you refuse to say yes to every no. You give to distraction becomes a yes to destiny. You cannot conquer your future if you keep negotiating with your comfort. Focus requires boundaries, and boundaries protect your brilliance. Distractions will always disguise themselves as opportunities. That's why discernment is your best defense. Everything good is not God, and everything urgent is not important. When you lack focus, you'll chase things that look like blessings, but behave like burdens. Focus teaches you to pause, to prioritize, to protect your purpose. It's learning to shut out the voices that don't align with your vision. You have to be bold enough to walk away from what's good so you can walk into what's great. Let me remind you, focus is not a skill you find, it's a decision you make daily. It's waking up with your purpose in your mind and your distractions under your feet. It's looking at your goals and saying, this is non-negotiable. The world will test your focus with noise, opinions, and temptations. But every time you stay committed to your calling, you're proving that your dream is not a wish, it's a mission. Focus doesn't just produce results, it produces identity. It shapes you into someone unstoppable. Another hook, focus is the discipline of vision. The more focused you are, the faster your destiny finds you. Focus multiplies time, amplifies energy, and accelerates success. 1 hour of pure focus is more powerful than 10 hours of distracted activity. If you can learn to direct your attention intentionally, you'll achieve in months what others take years to do. The future belongs to those who master their attention, because attention is the currency of success. Spend it wisely. Sometimes focus will look like isolation, but that's not loneliness. It's refinement. Diamonds don't shine in crowds. They're shaped in pressure and privacy. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You just need to stay locked in. Protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Every day, make the decision to feed your purpose and starve your distractions. The more you practice focus, the more you'll realize it's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. Focus is power under control. It's how ordinary people create extraordinary outcomes. When your mind is set, your moves are unstoppable. You start walking in a rhythm that attracts progress and repels chaos. You stop living reactively and start creating intentionally. The more focused you become, the more everything else aligns. Because focus doesn't just help you reach success, it makes you worthy of it. Gratitude is the posture that unlocks power. It's the key that turns struggle into strength, lack into learning, and pain into perspective. You see, gratitude is not just a polite response. It's a strategic decision. It's the ability to recognize blessings even when you're standing in the middle of a battle. Because when your heart stays grateful, your life stays grounded. Success doesn't begin with achievement, it begins with appreciation. When you start valuing what you already have, you position yourself to receive what's next. Gratitude is not a reaction to what happens. It's a reflection of who you are. You want to know why some people never rise to greatness. Because they spend more time complaining about what they don't have than celebrating what they do. Complaining is the language of limitation, but gratitude is the language of increase. When you complain, you drain your energy. When you're grateful, you attract favor. Gratitude changes the atmosphere. It shifts your mindset, refocuses your energy, and resets your perspective. The moment you start saying, "Thank you, God, for what's in your hand," He multiplies what's in your future. That's the power of gratitude. It's not just spiritual, it's strategic. Here's a hook you need to remember. When you can thank God for small beginnings, you qualify for greater endings. Gratitude trains your eyes to see abundance, even when your bank account or your situation says otherwise. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about interpreting it through faith. Because gratitude doesn't deny the problem, it declares that the problem won't define you. Every time you express gratitude, you are telling the universe, "I'm ready for more." You're showing heaven that you can handle the weight of blessings without losing the humility that brought them. Gratitude makes you magnetic. It attracts opportunities, relationships, and results because it radiates positive expectation. You ever notice how people who live in gratitude seem to glow differently? It's because they're not drained by what's missing. They're fueled by what's present. Gratitude doesn't just change what's around you, it changes what's within you. It builds resilience. It keeps your spirit rich even when resources seem scarce. Gratitude turns resistance into readiness. It gives you strength to endure seasons that others give up in. Most people think success comes from striving, but true success comes from stewarding. Gratitude teaches you stewardship. It reminds you that everything you have is a gift, not a guarantee. When you live with gratitude, you stop chasing validation and start embracing value. You stop waiting for something big to happen and start celebrating the small wins that build your foundation. Because gratitude is not seasonal, it's transformational. Every thank you is a seed, and those seeds grow into a life of abundance. Let me drop another hook for you. Gratitude is the gateway to growth. When you're grateful, you learn faster, recover stronger, and lead better. You start seeing lessons instead of losses. You begin to realize that even your delays were divine direction. Every hardship was helping you evolve. Gratitude doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes your capacity. It stretches your ability to see the blessing in disguise. You begin to understand that the very thing that frustrated you yesterday might be the foundation for your breakthrough tomorrow. Gratitude elevates your energy. It keeps you joyful in the journey because success without gratitude becomes empty success. There's no peace in progress if your heart forgets the purpose. Gratitude keeps your spirit in alignment. It reminds you that everything you've achieved came through grace, not just grind. When you stay grateful, you stay grounded. You stop performing and start living from a place of peace. Gratitude gives you power over anxiety because it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. And here's the truth. Gratitude is not a feeling you wait for, it's a habit you live from. The more you practice it, the more powerful it becomes. Start your mornings with thankfulness and end your nights with reflection. Speak gratitude even when it's inconvenient, because what you appreciate appreciates in value. The moment you stop taking things for granted, your life begins to multiply. Gratitude doesn't cost you anything, but it rewards you with everything: peace, clarity, favor, and joy. Every successful person has learned this secret. The level of your gratitude determines the level of your growth. If you can learn to be thankful in lack, you'll overflow in abundance. If you can praise in the storm, you'll reign in the sunshine. Gratitude keeps you connected to the source of success. It makes you unstoppable because it gives you strength that success alone can't. So no matter what season you're in, find something to be grateful for. Because gratitude isn't what follows success, it's what creates it. Learning is the real leverage, the invisible currency that turns potential into power and ideas into income. You can't grow beyond what you know, and you can't rise above what you understand. Knowledge is the foundation of every elevation in life. The moment you stop learning, you start losing. Success isn't a product of luck. It's a product of learning. Every time you invest in your mind, you're multiplying your value in the marketplace, in your purpose, and in your destiny. The people who win are not always the most gifted. They're the most grown. Because growth isn't guaranteed by age. It's guaranteed by awareness. You see, life doesn't pay you for effort. It pays you for effectiveness. And effectiveness is born from education. Not necessarily the kind you get from school, but the kind you get from pursuit. the kind that comes from hunger, the kind that says, I may not know it now, but I will learn it. Learning is the difference between those who wish and those who win. Every time you study something new, you're expanding your capacity to handle what success requires. Because opportunity doesn't respond to desire, it responds to preparation. And learning is preparation in motion. Here's a hook for you. Ignorance is more expensive than education. What you don't know is already costing you something. It's costing you money. It's costing you momentum. It's costing you mastery. People who avoid learning end up repeating lessons life tried to teach them for free. But those who lean into learning, they accelerate, they elevate, they dominate. Because learning shortens the distance between where you are and where you're meant to be. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when you can study the blueprint. Learning gives you leverage. It lets you stand on the shoulders of giants instead of starting from the ground. If you want to transform your life, don't just change your surroundings. Change your understanding. You attract at the level of your knowledge. You perform at the level of your preparation. Every skill you sharpen increases your influence. Every concept you master multiplies your confidence. The secret is simple. Don't just consume information, apply revelation. Because information without application leads to frustration. Wisdom isn't what you know, it's what you do with what you know. When you turn learning into living, that's when transformation happens. The greatest learners are also the greatest leaders. Why? Because they never assume they've arrived. They understand that the moment you think you know it all, you stop growing at all. Stay teachable even when you become successful, because success can make you comfortable and comfort kills curiosity. The key is to remain a student of success while you're a master of your craft. Always ask, always seek, always grow. Learning isn't a phase, it's a lifelong posture. Here's another hook. Your next level is locked inside something you don't yet know. That's why complacency is dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you're safe when you're actually stuck. Every breakthrough requires new information, new perspective, new mindset. You can't solve today's problems with yesterday's knowledge. The world is evolving, technology is advancing, industries are shifting. So you've got to keep learning, unlearning, and relearning. The learner will always outlast the loud. Learning also humbles you. It reminds you that wisdom is endless and greatness is a journey. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to discover. That humility keeps you sharp. It keeps you growing. It keeps you relatable. When you stop learning, arrogance takes over, and arrogance blinds you to opportunity. But when you remain curious, every day becomes a classroom, and every failure becomes a lesson. And here's the beauty of it. Learning compounds. Just like money in an investment account, small deposits of knowledge grow into massive dividends of wisdom over time. One book can shift your mindset. One mentor can change your direction. One idea can unlock a decade of progress. But you have to be willing to put yourself in rooms where learning happens. You have to surround yourself with thinkers, dreamers, and doers who challenge your comfort and sharpen your clarity, because you become the average of what you listen to, read, and observe. The truth is, learning is not a burden, it's a blessing. It's not something you have to do, it's something you get to do. Every new lesson learned is a tool added to your success toolbox. When you understand that wisdom is wealth, you'll stop chasing money and start chasing mastery. Money follows knowledge. Growth follows guidance. Prosperity follows preparation. Learning doesn't just make you smarter. It makes you stronger, more strategic, more spiritually aligned with your purpose. So keep feeding your mind like your future depends on it, because it does. The more you learn, the more you earn, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Learning is leverage because it multiplies your possibilities. It's how you turn vision into victory, purpose into power, and ideas into impact. Stay hungry, stay humble, and keep learning, because your next miracle might be hidden inside your next lesson. Faith in action unlocks favor. Faith by itself is powerful, but faith in motion is unstoppable. Too many people are waiting for a sign from heaven when heaven is waiting for them to take a step. You can't sit still and expect the world to shift for you. Faith isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about moving when conditions don't look perfect. Because faith doesn't operate by sight, it operates by conviction. It's easy to talk faith when everything looks certain. But real faith is proven when everything looks impossible. Faith is not believing God can, it's moving like He will. The truth is, belief without action is just imagination. You can pray all day, you can declare all night, but if you don't move, nothing changes. God can't bless a plan you haven't put in motion. You've got to step even when you don't see the staircase. That first step is what activates favor. Faith is the currency of heaven, and action is the withdrawal slip. Every time you take action in faith, you're telling the universe, I trust that what I see in my spirit will manifest in my sight. That's the essence of manifestation. It's movement with meaning. Here's a hook that will shift your mindset. Faith that stays still is just fear with a good name. Faith is a verb. It requires participation. It demands risk. If your dreams don't make you nervous, they're too small for the kind of faith that brings transformation. You've got to move before you feel ready. Because the truth is, you'll never feel ready for destiny. You'll only feel responsible for it. Faith doesn't guarantee the path will be easy, but it guarantees the outcome will be worth it. When you act in faith, you trade fear for favor. You move from comfort into calling. Faith in action separates dreamers from doers. Everyone wants the promise, but few are willing to step into the process. Every great move of God in history began when someone decided to move first. Noah built the ark before the rain came. Abraham left his home before he knew the destination. David faced Goliath before he wore the crown. What do they all have in common? They didn't wait for proof. They became proof. Faith is not about seeing results. It's about becoming the reason results exist. When you move in faith, you set miracles in motion. The most dangerous thing you can do is let fear disguise itself as wisdom. Fear will tell you to wait for more information, but faith says, walk with revelation. Faith doesn't need to know how, it just needs to know who. You may not have all the answers, but if you have the courage to act, the answers will appear along the way. Movement creates momentum, and momentum invites miracles. Every step of faith is a declaration that you refuse to be ruled by circumstances. You are declaring that your vision is stronger than your situation. Here's another hook. Faith without action keeps your miracle in theory. But faith with movement makes it a testimony. The moment you move, the atmosphere begins to shift. Doors start opening. Opportunities begin to align. The right people start showing up. Not because luck appeared, but because your faith activated divine timing. Faith in action changes everything. It attracts what fear repels. It turns uncertainty into clarity and delay into destiny. And understand this, faith-driven action isn't reckless, it's relentless. It's not about ignoring logic. It's about believing in a higher law. You prepare, you plan, but you still move. You stop waiting for approval and start walking in authority. Because when you know you're